Welcome back, everyone. This is one of our another bracket previews for the West region. Please check out our other videos on the East, South, and Midwest region. These mainly focus on first round matchups. Certainly, we might get into some hypothetical matchups, but we're going to really try to do that Thursday and Friday night as these matchups come in. So, without further ado, Sean, this is the Arizona region. I think it goes without saying they're the most common one seed you see based on the field in the Final Four. And, unlike Florida, unlike even a Michigan or Duke who has other hard teams in their region or has some other question marks, I think Arizona is cleared away, according to the public, the most solid one seed penciled into the Final Four here. And with that, you know, probably no need to go into the LIU game, Sean. Let's go into who they might be playing in the second round. Villanova, first year under Kevin Willard, certainly a great year. And then facing off with the story of the Mountain West all year, Utah State, Sean. What are you looking for in this matchup?
This one for Villanova, very, very interesting in the fact that this is just like another Kevin Willard team without Derek Queen. Like they're good, they're solid, they're not elite, they're not bad, but turns out that sort of product gets you 15-5 this year in the Big East. And that got them to this spot. They did have a decent non-conference where they beat Wisconsin on a neutral, which that win obviously turned out to be great. And they had a really close loss to BYU on the opening day, and then they did lose quite a bit on the road at your Michigan Wolverines. But they've just been good. Like nothing really crazy to complain about. All of their stats are pretty average, other than the fact that they don't really block shots. But they're 45th in offense, 38th in defense. They're 35% from three, 54% from two, 51st in 3 point rate. It's just like everything is just sort of around that number. So I think when it comes to winning this first round matchup, I don't think that really matches up well because I really do like Utah State and the Aggies. I thought they should have gotten a little bit of a better seed. And sort of going under the radar, Joe, is the fact that the Mountain West is a one bid league this year. And there were two or three other teams that were awfully close, but Utah State was significantly the best in that league. They are, they turn you over a lot and they take efficient shots. They lost one game in the non-conference to South Florida, and then they were clearly the best team in the Mountain West. They have a really unique, you know, sort of starting lineup. Mason Falslev is their creator and their point guard. He is very tall. I would say like 6'8" or 6'9". So how does Kevin Willard deal with him? I just think Utah State's better, and they are favored by one according to Torvik here, which I'm looking at. But I think Villanova might be a little bit overseeded. Utah State might be a little underseeded, and that's why I'm going with the Aggies.
All right, Sean, we got this 5-12 matchup here, the Wisconsin Badgers at High Point. Wisconsin clearly 2 years ago, no stranger to upsets in this game. They did lose to James Madison 2 years ago after going on a pretty impressive Big Ten tourney run where they went to the final and kind of underperformed last year too. They were a 3 seed and lost to a very good 16 BYU team. But Sean, I think this is a game Wisconsin does get the proverbial monkey off their back in terms of getting upset in the first weekend. I think the combination of Nick Boyd and John Blackwell is just too good. And if they could get support from Billy Yaskis, Austin Rapp, maybe they got a Janicki back too. I think the Badgers are too seasoned, especially a Blackwell who's been on the team 3 years now, a Nick Boyd who's no stranger to big March Madness games. I think they're too seasoned to lose this game, Sean. What say you?
And I don't love the matchup either. And I agree. These guys have gone on the road in the Big Ten and stared the opponent's fans in the face and said, "This is my house. Like I'm gonna win on your floor." And if you're High Point, I think you're coming in for the Panthers of High Point, you don't want Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin plays more like a mid-major team than any other power conference team. They're led by their guards and they have a bunch of stretch big guys. They're all really good, don't get me wrong, but this is just High Point is literally Wisconsin light. They play a bunch of possessions. Almost every game goes to 70. They give up a lot of points. They score a lot of points. And the Big South, which they were the best team by far. That league stunk this year. Just two teams in the top 200. One of them being High Point, obviously. I think Wisconsin wins this one rather easily. It's a little bit of a different profile for High Point than last year. That team last year did. Um, they didn't really let Purdue shake them. Purdue ended up winning by, I don't know if what it was, 7 or 8.
Yeah.
It was never really close, but it was also never really over. That's just not the profile of this team this year. So I think Wisconsin rolls easily.
All right, shall we get another coach who's no stranger, unfortunately, although a Hall of Fame career, to first round upsets? Certainly, I think one of them is the reason why he is at Arkansas when Kentucky lost to Oakland quite a few, only 2 years ago. But the Arkansas Razorbacks, who I think had one of the most impressive conference tourney runs in all of the country, facing off against the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors, who, funnily enough, never left this part of the Americas, aka they didn't go back to the Hawaiian Islands. Sean, I don't think this happens to Calipari again, but what do you think?
Yeah, it's like I said in some of the other videos, if you haven't seen already, Hawaii was a team that I went into the selection show wanting to put them in a spot where they could win the game. I just don't like it here. Hawaii's defense is very, very interesting in the way that they play. It's sort of hard to describe. They basically don't switch ever, or don't help ever. Sorry, they don't help ever. There's a few like stunts on middle ball screens, but wing ball screens is exclusively 2v2. If you're telling me that Darius Acuff is going to be going 2v2 against a couple of Big West players, that's going to be a lot of points. So I think
Yeah.
Arkansas wins. It's a where if this is like a 1 day prep sort of situation, maybe it's a little bit different, but Arkansas has 4 days of prep here, with this game being on Friday, if I'm not mistaken. Um, I think Arkansas prepares for it. Calipari will find a way around this odd defense from Hawaii, and when it comes to guards in March, Joe, Darius Acuff versus Nick Boyd and John Blackwell, that sounds pretty fun.
Absolutely. Sean, going down to the bottom of the bracket here, we got BYU. We don't really know who they're playing quite yet. I think that will be decided tonight. But, you know, Sean, for BYU here, they're a very common pick to go to the Sweet 16 to upset a Gonzaga who does play at Kennesaw State. But do you see BYU as limping into the tournament, both I guess literally and figuratively, or is this a team that you think is still dangerous?
I think they've actually been playing okay coming in. They lose Richie Saunders against Colorado at home. They squeak that game out of overtime, and they just sort of have a gauntlet of games here. They go to Arizona, they lose. They beat Iowa State at home, then they lose to UCF, at West Virginia, at Cincy. You're thinking at this point, the way that the bracket was set up, BYU really couldn't be an 8 or a 9 seed, because they couldn't be the 8 or 9 seed here in the West region with Arizona. Then they'd have to go to the South with Florida and or UConn at the time, and it wasn't really going to work. So there's a chance they could have been bumped all the way to the 10. But they did have a good stretch of games here. They beat Texas Tech, they beat Kansas State and West Virginia in the Big 12 tournament, and then they gave Houston a pretty good game. So I think they've started to figure out ways to play without their probably most important player, but they probably have the best player in the country, at least in terms of an NBA talent. Now, Cameron Boozer is going to win Player of the Year, but I would pick AJ DeBanza first if I was an NBA GM. He is never he never takes a play off. He guards, he's long, and he never settles. He's a good 3-point shooter, but he never settles. I think that with the team playing tonight, Joe, we're doing this Tuesday. That team is going to have to play in Ohio, and then they're going to have to go all the way out to Oregon to play BYU on Thursday on a 1 day rest situation. I just think that's a golden opportunity for BYU to show why they're so great on offense. And they're not the best defensively. And if you say, well, that looks like a formula that can lose in March, maybe eventually, but not here in the first or second round, I think.
Yep. We got the Zags here against Kennesaw State. I know Gonzaga's had a few slip ups. Portland certainly got blown out in Vegas, but ultimately, Sean, still, I think a pretty solid Mark Few team. I know they have some injuries coming in. I just don't see that affecting them against Kennesaw State. Am I naive?
No, no, no. They're going to roll easily here. They are similar to UConn in the fact that they're this highly seeded because they had a great non-conference. They, I guess we don't know how they played in conference play, right? Because they lose to St. Mary's, and then they beat Santa Clara in a coin toss game in the tournament. But like, how good are those teams? Like, if those were good teams, then Gonzaga's fine. But if they're not, then um, maybe Gonzaga's not as good as they suggest. But they have a ton of experience. Graham Ike is still on Gonzaga. If you remember him from Wyoming in the first four against Indiana in Woodson's first season, he was playing on that team. He is still there. He is a problem in the post. I don't see anybody on this bottom half of the bracket that could cover him, Joe. And I think if Gonzaga can get him the ball enough times, they could go on a run. There's certainly not anybody that can cover him at Kennesaw State or from the 6-11 winner. So I think Gonzaga might have the best chance of losing before the Sweet 16 as a 3 seed, but once they get rolling, they might be hard to stop.
All right, Sean, going down here, we got the U and Missouri in St. Louis, Missouri. This is a very fascinating matchup. A lot of people are having difficulty picking this game. You know, Miami under first year coach Jai Lucas, clearly an overperformance. Trey Donaldson playing great, the Michigan and Auburn transfer. Missouri, you know, probably not expected to make the tourney this year, but they do have some semblance of an advantage here. Sean, how do you pick this game? Because I'm even confused about it.
I really like Miami. Just watching them this year, like I feel like they found themselves on TV, like on times that I've been watching, and obviously Renew is a former Indiana guy. He is really excelling here, and we went into the season, Joe, saying if Trey Donaldson and Malik Renew are your best players, is that going to be a good idea? It turns out it has been. Like both of them have been way better than they have before. They're 25-8. Like they won a million games. They did have a little bit of a soft non-conference. They did play BYU and Florida, and they lost to them. And they had been doing their job taking care of business in the conference season, and then they started beating some of the other tournament teams. I like Miami to advance here. They've just got like a couple of really good players, and they have some freshmen and they have some seniors. I like what Jai Lucas has done here. The only thing that's holding me back, Joe, is the location. 2.5 hours roughly from Columbia, Missouri. And the Tigers are an interesting team too. They've picked off a couple of nice wins in SEC play, but at one point, if you play 12 or 13 games against tournament teams in SEC play, you're going to win some of them. So I think they're just a little bit too inconsistent for me. Give me Miami to advance.
All right, Sean, and last team here, Purdue Boilermakers, like Tommy Lloyd, like Greg Gard, like John Calipari, very experienced coach, who was no stranger to first round and frankly to shocking upsets. Purdue coming off one of their most impressive stretches of the season and games of the season, blowing out my Michigan Wolverines, and I really say blowing out because that game at times did not feel close, despite what the scoreboard said. Queens College, their first NCAA tournament appearance. I do think it will be short-lived. Sean, is there any reason to believe that I'm not correct?
No, the only thing to watch out for here, Joe, is that this is probably going to be a record breaker game. Braden Smith is 2 assists away from, I think, from breaking the record. I think he's one below Bobby Hurley right now. So 2 assists will break the record for most assists all time in Division One college basketball. So that's what the main storyline is going to be here. And if you're Purdue, Joe, we just keep it rolling. You did something that you have not done all season on Sunday against Michigan, especially the big guys in Oscar Clough and TKR. If they're anywhere close to that, this is going to be a long day for Queens.
Absolutely. Sean, that'll wrap it up for our West region. Certainly going to be some fascinating round of 32 matchups here. Crossing my fingers for certain games, not to be biased, but please watch our other videos and we'll talk to you next time.